So we are still talking about the inheritance, and this is part 3 of chapter 5 of Bio131. And so far we were talking about one hybrid only, which we called it the monohybrid. So we're talking about one thing only, like the eye color, like the skin color, one thing only. And this is not usually the only thing that's actually inherited. We can talk about different things at the same time. So like in this example here, this chocolate colored, we talked about these colors before, and we said that the black is dominant and the chocolate is recessive, right?
Yeah.
So this is chocolate, so obviously this is recessive, which is lowercase r, both of them lowercase, right? If it is one uppercase, it will be black. So for sure this is lowercase r, both of them are lowercase. So this is one thing. But can we talk about two things at the same time? Like this is a brown or chocolate colored. What else? They found that a lot of these dogs, they can be deaf. So they said it's a chocolate, so is it deaf too, or is it normal? So now we're talking about two things at the same time. We're talking about the color and the hearing. If this is chocolate colored and normal hearing, or is it chocolate colored and deaf at the same time? The normal, which is the dominant, is normal hearing. The recessive, which is the abnormal, which is deaf. Okay, so now we are talking about two things, and this is important for breeders, because those who are breeding something like this, Labrador dogs, they know that there might be an issue. They know that this dog, if he wanted chocolate, some customers needed this one specifically. Some people like the chocolate colored. So they know that there is a chance to be deaf. How to know if this is going to be deaf or not, in order to help them with the breeding. So in order to understand this, what's going to happen, it's not going to be monohybrid anymore. When we talk about two different characteristics, not just one, we're talking about something else. Here is the law of independent assortment that you need to remember. And this law states that the inheritance of one characteristic has no effect on the inheritance of the other one. Meaning, not just because it's chocolate, it has to be deaf. Not just because it's black, it has to be normal hearing. It doesn't. This is completely separated. You have any chance. Okay, black healthy, black deaf. Chocolate healthy, chocolate deaf. You don't know. So, and this will bring us to the second part, which is we're adding two characteristics at the same time, and we're using the same laws. So this is not exactly the typical Mendelian law. So here are the chances. This is the independent assortment right here. So you have, this is the pair of chromosomes, B, P, these are the characteristics. And on another chromosome you have D uppercase and D lowercase. So this is like the blue, let's say, which is the B. We refer to it with the B. This is referring to the color. Okay, so this is black. So it has to be 1 out of 2. Either both of them are uppercase, or one uppercase, one lowercase. Is that true? Right? Mm-hmm. It's black. It has to contain one dominant, because black is dominant. If it is 2 lowercase b, what would be the color? Chocolate. So there are two possibilities here. So we'll take this possibility, which is heterogeneous. So the homologous chromosomes are heterogeneous. It's a mixed, one uppercase, one lowercase. And then we are going to refer to the hearing one with D. If you are uppercase D, that's going to be healthy. He can hear. If it is lowercase, he cannot. Obviously, because he's mixed. He's uppercase, one uppercase and one lowercase. Is this dog healthy or deaf?
Healthy.
Healthy, because the dominant is healthy. So this can be either 2 uppercase or one uppercase, one lowercase. In both cases, he's healthy anyway. The only way that he become deaf if it's both of them are lowercase. Yes.
Can you please turn off the light?
Yeah.
Okay. So now what's the independent assortment? You don't know which one will be with which one of those two. So is it going to be this with this or this with this? B lowercase with D, or uppercase, or B lowercase with D lowercase? You don't know. But you have now 4 different possibilities. Any one can happen in any one of these 4 assortments, and we call that the independent assortment. Not because you have this lowercase, so you have to go with this lowercase. You can go with anyone. Okay, so we call that the independent assortment. Each pair of alleles can separate. So here's what's happening. This is going to separate from this. You have 2 separate, and this is going to separate from this separate. Now I have 4, and I can make any combination. Which are the 4 possibilities here? This is the male. Okay, so these are 4 different sperms. We don't know which one is going to filterize to do the fertilization. Now if you add the female, so the female is, in this case, is black coat and hearing. Okay, which black coat, it can be 2 uppercase or 1 and 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
For this, his hearing, it can be both uppercase or 1 and 1. In this case, we're doing the same thing as we did with the male, which is mixed. So what is the possible combination of those? This will bring us to a bigger square. Unlike the other one, which was only 4, this will bring us to 16 different chances. If you make 4 here, the 4 of the sperms, same thing with the ova. Now you're going to match them, and you will get to this square. And the numbers here that you need to remember are 9, 3, 3, 1. If we're talking about the dihybrid, the dihybrid with this is going to be 9, 3, 3, 1. Okay, if that was monohybrid, the situation is different now, right? It's going to be 1, 2, 1. Do you remember this? It's going to be 1, 2, 1. If this is a monohybrid, what's dihybrid mean? We're talking about 2 things at the same time. Okay, 2 phenotypes, 2 things at the same time: color and hearing. This is dihybrid. If you're talking about color only, this is monohybrid. So when the dihybrid square, you get usually, if we're matching 2 and both of them are heterogeneous, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase in both characteristics, and both of them are the same, the chances will be 9, 3, 3, 1, and you should be able to do that. If I give you the 4 here and the 4 here, you should be able to match them. Or at least look at the square and you tell me what are the chances. So now we come to the disease. So far, when we were talking about the Mendelian inheritance, we were just talking about different characteristics, different traits. Just traits, right? We didn't talk much about diseases. We were talking about the hair color, normal, the eye color, different traits. Now we go to the abnormalities, to the disease. So can we use the inheritance and see the chances of the kids having the disease, for example? So here is an example: Katie and Dave, both of them are healthy, but they have a sibling with cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive. You have 2 parts. Autosomal mean it's not 6-linked, right? It's anyone from 1 to 22. Is that clear? Is that clear? These are the autosomal chromosomes. So it's not sex chromosome, which is pair number, or the pair number 23, right? We're not talking about this one. It's any one of those. And it's recessive. What recessive means? In order to have the disease, you have to have 2 lowercase, right? This is the only chance to get it. So they did a genetic testing, and they found that both of them are heterogeneous. Can you advise them, if you are a genetic counselor, can you advise them, can you tell them their kids, what are the chances that their kids have the disease? Do they have a chance of kids having a disease or not? That same disease, if both of them are heterogeneous. Yes or no? What are the chances? Both of them are heterogeneous. Can you do it in your mind and tell me?
50%.
So it's going to be one uppercase, one lowercase, one uppercase, one lowercase, right? So how many healthy?
3.
One is completely healthy, right? 3 are healthy, yes. Of those 3, which one is completely healthy and not even a carrier? And we will come to this point.
Only one.
One, which is both uppercase.
Mhm.
And you will see 2 that are healthy
But they have the recessive.
but mixed, have 1 and 1, right?
Mhm.
We will call that, when it comes to the disease, we call that a carrier.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Unlike when you talked about the colors. The colors, it's black, it's brown. What if it is mixed? He doesn't have an issue. We're talking about color, right? We're talking about traits. But when we come to the disease, the situation is different.
Does that also work with color blindness? Usually women are
Yes,
carriers.
it's a disease too. Color blindness is a disease. So it apply with any disease. So if this is an autosomal recessive disease, autosomal recessive disease like this, if you have both uppercase, you're completely normal and you're not even a carrier. If you have both lowercase, you have the disease. What if you have a mix? We don't call it mix, we call it carrier. So the next generation have a chance to take it. So what if that's the case? Now we understand what's a carrier, right? So how many completely healthy, how many have the disease? Of the 4, how many completely healthy, how many have the disease, and how many carriers?
1 healthy, 2 carriers, and 1 has disease.
Exactly, right? Are we all okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another thing. Freckling. Freckling is dominant. It's an autosomal dominant. Okay, over non-freckling. So freckling is a dominant one. So how can we match that? If we have 2 carriers, same thing like we did with the cystic fibrosis. So, but here is mixed and here is mixed. Okay, how many would be normal? 1. How many carriers? 2. And how many have the disease? 1. It's the same scenario.
I got a question.
Yeah.
How do they decide which trait is dominant and which one is recessive?
We have to tell you.
Huh?
We have to give you the idea. Like when we say it's an autosomal recessive disease. So you know that the dominant is the normal and the recessive is bad.
Well, how do they know? Like, how can they tell?
How they can tell? If they do the genetic karyotyping and they look under the inside the chromosome and they can see the actual gene. But in the exam, I have to give you a clue. Like I have to tell you, this is autosomal recessive, and it is heterozygous. Autosomal recessive, or it's a carrier, autosomal recessive and a carrier. So the uppercase is dominant, which is normal, and the lowercase is recessive, which is not normal, and I have 1 and 1. This is what should translate. I have to give you a piece of information to solve it, right? I can't just tell you that this have a disease and this doesn't have it. And then what? I have to give you some more information. I give you information about the inheritance of the disease. This is autosomal recessive. How about if it is autosomal dominant? How many are going to have the disease if it is heterozygous, both of them?
1.
3 will have the disease.
What'd you ask again?
How many have the disease if this is autosomal dominant? If it is dominant, how many alleles should you have in order to show the disease? 1 or 2? 1 is enough.
It's dominant.
Like I have uppercase. If it goes with the uppercase, you get the disease. What if it goes with the lowercase? You still get the disease. So in this case, it's not just a carrier. He will show the disease if it's autosomal dominant. And the only one that's free is the one that got 2 recessive. That's exactly the opposite of what I just mentioned. Is that point clear?
Mm-hmm.
In case if we're saying autosomal dominant. This is autosomal recessive. The cystic fibrosis, autosomal recessive. So the normal is the one that have the 2 uppercase, and if you have 1 and 1, you'll be carrier, right? And the opposite will be for the dominant. So how can you advise people if you see this is, are you familiar with the pedigree?
No.
Do you know the pedigree? Pedigree is when I give you at least 2 or 3 generations.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and you should expect from that what are the chances. Okay, so if I give you something like this, and you can see something like this in the exam, by the way, so understand how does it work. Okay, it's all about the inheritance pattern and the chances. Okay, so here is how we do it. If it is a circle, it means it's a female. If it is a square, it's male. This is one. If it is white, it means it doesn't have the disease. If it is yellow, it have the disease. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here is the first generation. Is this healthy? Is this male or female?
Female.
Female. Healthy or sick?
Healthy.
Healthy. And this?
Healthy.
Male, healthy, right? But both of them are carriers. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are carriers. And the question is about this. The chances. What would be this? So let's match. Can you do the match in your head? This is not the 16. This is just the 4. So it should be simple.
She's
yes.
healthy. She's healthy.
Healthy or not healthy?
Healthy.
Healthy. You see that it doesn't have a yellow, right? So it's healthy. But the question is, how about the genetics? How about the
50-50 chance.
what are the chances here?
Two uppercase and 1 uppercase.
It can be, it's normal, right? You see it's normal, it's not yellow, so it's normal. But since it's normal, I still don't know how the genetics will be. Can it be both uppercase
Mm-hmm.
and it would be normal? Yes.
Yeah.
Can it be one uppercase and low and lowercase like this
Yes.
and still be normal? Yes, you don't know, right? Until this point, you don't know. How is the only way to know? I give you another generation. Yes.
Normal.
Okay. So if you are looking at this, look at the 3rd generation now. This is, both of them are known, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know both of them. So if the chances are A from here and A from here, it's this. Same thing here, it's this, which is half. So this is 1, 2, 1, right? If there is a chance that you have any one of those that's completely normal and not even a carrier for this couple, the 3rd generation of this couple,
No.
can you see even one? 0 chance. 0 chance for anyone to be completely normal. Why? Because this have both of them lowercase and this is 1 and 1. How can you get, in order to have one that's completely normal, not even a carrier, both of them have to be uppercase. Where do you get the uppercase from? It's on uppercase here, but how about this? Nothing. 0 chance. Right? What are the chances? 1 sick, okay, and 3 carriers. Okay? Just by matching those together. Any other chances? No. So if these parents are asking you, do I have a chance to get a baby that's completely normal, not even a carrier? No. The chances are 0. You can't. Right? Even if you're taking this, it will still go with one of those. Okay? Did you understand this? Mm-hmm. You don't have to see that exact same thing in the exam, but it's the same idea. You're either you see this like this, or I give you this and ask you about this. It can be the other way around. If you, that's why I'm trying to help you understand the concept, so you can get it either way. So from that point, the Mendel's or the Mendelian's law is straightforward, and at that time it was good enough to explain a lot of things, and they thought at this time that this is perfect and this is what it is, until they came to the point that they said it's not perfect like this. It's not. And the reason why they know that, they noticed farmers that they have cattle, one of them is white and the other one is red, and they see that some of the next generation are not this and not that. They are roan. They have mix patches, like white with some red patches. So what is this? Right? If Mendelian is absolutely right, the Mendels is absolutely right, and you're talking about these, no matter what, one of them has to be dominant to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dominant will take the upper hand, whether you have both upper cases or one and one. In both cases, you will have that same color, right? But this is not the case. How did you get the mix from? So Mendelian does not explain everything. Sometimes you have other situations. Here is another thing, like you're matching two parents, male and female. One is black and one is white, or one is dark colored and one is black, or whatever it is. You're doing that mix, and you can get something in between, right? You always get something in between, or most of the time. So there are other things that explain that. It's a lot more complex than what Mendel said. It applies for a lot of things, but not for everything. There are things that are more complicated than that. Here's another example. This color here, the purple, is dominant, and the white is recessive. So you would think that a mixing between those will give you purple, right?
Pink.
Purple or pink. Or if it is mixed, you have different chances. But reality is, this didn't happen. I will show you. But just understand this: incomplete dominance. This is the explanation. Okay, so you ask yourself, if it is only if Mendel's law is completely right and it works all the time, which is not the case. If it works all the time, you either dominant or recessive. That's it, right? Dominant, you will show your traits are going to show up anyway, right? Whether 100% it is both of them are uppercase, or even if it's mixed, it will show up anyway. And this is not the case. So they call that incomplete dominance. So it is dominant, but not completely. Not like it's going to abolish. It's not going to delete the recessive. The recessive will still show. It's called incomplete dominance. It's dominant because it's more, but it's incomplete dominance. So you get something in between. Did you get this? For incomplete dominance, the offsprings are going to be something in between. Like that cattle thing, you get it in between. But the white is dominant and the red is recessive. Yes, you'll get part of this and part of that. If it was complete dominance, and this will make the difference. I can give you a question like this, or you can see a question like this. You need to read this. Are you talking about complete dominance or incomplete dominance? If it's complete dominance, you know what it is. This is dominant, this is recessive. The dominant will take the upper hand anyway, right? Uppercase A, the dominant will show up. Uppercase A, lowercase a, still the dominant will show up. Clear? Is this point clear? Like the dog, the black. Both uppercase, black. One uppercase, one lowercase, still black, right? If I told you complete dominance. But if you see incomplete dominance, now the recessive will show up somehow. It's not complete dominance. So in this case, if this is red, for example, I told you the pink, it's in between, I'm sorry. This pink here, this red here is dominant, and it's both uppercase. And this white here is recessive and both lowercase. If this was complete dominance, you are not going to see any white or anything else. Everything will be like this, right? But this didn't happen. Okay? In this case, the snapdragon flowers showed that red with white give you pink. Isn't the pink is in between the red and the white? So this is incomplete dominance, right? So the mix that you see here, if this was complete dominance, this is enough to show, and this is enough to abolish the other one, right? To delete the other one, which is not the case. When you have mix, both of them will show up. So your clue here is, are we talking about complete or incomplete dominance? Is that clear? Now if you take another generation of this is pink or purple, right? So this is mixed, isn't it? Both the white and the red showed up and come together to make this. So this is mixed uppercase, lowercase, and this is mixed uppercase, lowercase. What are the chances now? Uppercase with uppercase will give you red, right? Uppercase, lowercase, purple or pink, right? Here, purple, pink. And if the lowercase come with the lowercase, that will be the white. So it's 1 to 1. But those two are not carriers like the disease. It is actually having that intermediate color. Okay? And remember that we call the color phenotype. Do you remember the phenotype versus genotype? Phenotype is what you can see, right? Like this. This is a color. It's phenotype, right? The genetic explanation of what you can see is called the genotype. Clear? Is that clear? Mm-hmm. Okay. So remember in the Mendelian genetics, we were talking about two different alleles only, right?
Yeah.
It's uppercase and lowercase. That's it. But what's actually happening is that a lot of genes have multiple alleles. It's not just two. It's actually not all the cases. A lot of cases, it's a lot more than that. It's not just uppercase, lowercase. It's more than that. A lot of genes, especially in humans and animals. Okay, here's an example. For blood types, remember that you can see A, B, AB, and O, right?
Yeah.
So that tells you that it's not just two alleles. It's not one dominant, one recessive. It's not one uppercase, one lowercase. It is not. You have more than two alleles. So in this case, you have these alleles. Two lowercase without antigen on it, mix with antigen, uppercase with A, uppercase with A, which is the antigen, and so on. This is B, this is mixed, and so on. So this will give you different blood types, and it depends on which mix are you're going to see. Okay, so like in this case, both of them are lowercase, both of them does not have antigen, so that will give you O. If one of them is uppercase A and the other one is lowercase without any antigen, that will give you A, but it's mixed, so that will affect the next generation. We call that codominance. Codominance. It's not just incomplete dominance, it's codominance. It's exactly in between. It's not one that's more than the other, but it still show up. No, they are equal. Co means together. Like AB, you're A and I am B, we are equal. Okay, and both of us will be exactly the same. If I'm type AB, I have the two antigens equally, both of them. And we call this blood typing, we call it codominant, which means both of them are going to express equally. None of those, there is no dominant in this case. In the blood type, there is no dominant. Is that clear? In the blood types, we don't have dominant. So here is something that you can see. This is a blood type B, and this is a blood type A, but it's mixed. So this is uppercase, this is lowercase, and this is have the antigen, this doesn't have the antigen. So the chances are you will have one O, one B, one A, one AB. Okay? If you match it, just match. This with this, that's O. This with this, that's B. Okay? This with this, that's A. This with this, because this will show up. And if you have both of them are going to show up. This is for the blood types. So are we following? We talked about complete dominance, and then we talked about incomplete dominance, and the third one was codominance. Is that okay so far? The three types: complete, incomplete, and co. Okay. Next one is pleiotropy. Pleio means mix or different. Okay. So in the case of the blood, we were saying that multiple genes, okay, are expressed in the blood types. Here, pleiotropy is the opposite. Are we following? Several genes in the codominance. Several genes are affecting the blood type. This is the opposite. One gene is affecting different things. exactly the opposite of the codominance. And the example of that is sickle cell disease. The gene that causes sickle cell disease, it causes other things, other physical abnormalities. So if you have sickle cell disease, you might have also muscle weakness, anemia. One of the organs can be damaged kidney, something like this. So it's one gene that will cause different things, different issues. We call that pleiotropy. Pleio means multiple or different. Tropy means growth. So it's affecting multiple growth, affecting the growth of multiple things. Is this point clear? Isn't that the opposite of the blood types? In blood types, I have several genes giving you blood type. Here I have one gene give you different issues. So if a person having the sickle cell disease, you know that the gene that caused him sickle cell disease causing him other issues as well, not just this. And we call that pleiotropy. Is that clear? Complete dominance, incomplete dominance, codominance, and pleiotropy. Clear? Polygenic inheritance is the next one, which is multiple genes are causing single characteristic. I'm not talking about blood types now. Okay? Multiple genes, several genes are causing one characteristic. Okay? Like the height, for example. Okay? If you look at the height, it's one character, right? But there are several genes that work on that character, and we call that polygenic. Poly means several. Genic means genes. So several genes are causing that characteristic. So if you wanted to study why this person is tall, for example, you're not studying one gene. There are multiple genes that work together to give you that type of inheritance, and we call that polygenic. Several genes. Okay? Skin color. Skin color is not that something that's simple, straightforward. If you wanted to study why the color looks like this, a lot of genes. You have to get this gene from here, and this one from here, and this one. Several genes that work together in order to give you the skin color. Are we okay so far? Mm-hmm. It's getting more complex and more. Not only all what we talked about the genes, the environment also play a role. It's not just the genes. So you can have genetic and environmental components to different things. Okay? So it's not everything is by the genes. Those who live in this area, if I have two people, both of them have the same genes, and this one lives in high mountains in a very cold area, and this one lives in another area that's very low and it's very hot, they will show different characteristics, because now the environmental factors are going to play a role. This one is going to have more diseases than this. The cancer can be more here than here. A skin color can be a little bit different. There is an input from the environment as well. It's not completely genetic. Okay. The other thing is, if you are talking about the crossing of dihybrid crossing, if you're having this square, the big one with 16, and sometimes your expectations are not exactly what you expected. Okay, like the coat color here with this. You're supposed to have an expectations, but sometimes it's not exactly what you expected. Why is that? Isn't it supposed to be, if I match it together, it should be perfect match? If you remember the 8331, I think
9331.
9331. So yeah, which is 16, 9331. Sometimes it's not exactly like this. So like the breeders, sometimes they see, okay, if we have 16 of this dog, it has to be 9331. Sometimes it's not. Why? This will bring us to the next thing, which is linked genes. Sometimes the genes are too close to each other. Sometimes they get linked to each other. Okay? And this will give us a different scenario than what you actually expected if those genes are linked. So like here, you're supposed to have independent assortment, so you're supposed to have these genes different, right? It's not, this is not 100%. Sometimes the two genes are very close to each other and they link. We call that the linked genes. So when you start the independent assortment, you're thinking in your mind that all four are going to be separated, right? Remember how we did it before? The four, that this is uppercase, lowercase, and this uppercase, lowercase, the chances are equal because this uppercase will go like this and this lowercase is here, uppercase is here, lowercase here, and then match, right? That's not true in this case because the uppercase and lowercase will stay together. Okay? When you inherit, you take both of them together. Sometimes it happens, and in certain genes, and we call that the linked genes. This gene go with this gene, and they do not separate, and this will change the predictions. Linked genes, genes that are close together, that you don't separate them. When you inherit both of them at the same time. Okay. So. If that's the case in linked genes, still some crossover can happen, and this is going to shuffle a little bit, and this can lead to something called recombinant chromosomes. A chromosome, they are linked together, but a piece from here go to the other parts, so they can go together. Okay, a little piece from this and a little piece from that, even though it is linked. Okay, the genes are linked together, and you still receive them together, but how about the whole piece? Will both of them to go to another chromosome? Are we still following? Did you get what I mean? They are linked, so they are supposed to stay. Sometimes not just linked. With them linked, this piece separate and go to another chromosome. So crossover can happen, and it's going to change the location of these two. The two still together, yes, but they moved from one chromosome to another chromosome. So all what we talked about so far was simply assuming that we're talking about from pair number 1 to pair number 22, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the autosomal ones. How about number 23? Number 23 is the 6 chromosomes, isn't it? Mm-hmm. In females, it is XX, and in males,
XY.
It's XY, right? And do we know the abnormalities?
Yes.
XXY, XO, XYY, Klinefelter. Do you remember this? Turner.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Okay. So far we were talking about autosomes. What if we're talking about the 6 chromosomes? Okay. The 6 chromosomes, if this is a male, it will be XY, right? We can have X, X, XY. So what's the difference between X and Y? You see how this is the X is a lot bigger than the Y? I mentioned it before, the Y, the only thing that the Y carry is maleness. It decides either you're male or not. That's it. Okay? X, no. X carry other criteria, other characteristics. Okay? So if somebody's having a genetic disorder, you're talking about something in X, not in the Y. Is that clear? Y will tell you you're male or not. Done. That's it. No other issues, because it's not even carrying anything to have an issues in the first place. Did you get my idea? Like, how can you have issues if you don't even carry anything rather than maleness? So anything will come from the X if there are issues. Okay? So if you look at number 23, this is how it looks like for females, and this is how it looks like for males. XX in females, XY in males. Okay? And again, the Y is carrying only the gene for maleness. It's just if you have it, you have the gene for maleness and you're a male. That's it. How about any other genes? No, this is the only gene. The X chromosome is the one that can carry different genes, and that's why it's the one that can have issues. Okay? So here is one example. Hemophilia. Hemophilia is an X-linked recessive. X-linked recessive. Okay? In the Russian royal family, they noticed that those who are affected are usually males. Rare, very rare that you have female. Like the family have a lot of their kids have a lot of their male kids. Male kids have hemophilia, and virtually no girls, maybe one or something, maybe, but the vast majority are males. And the explanation of that is, if you look at this, at the royal family, here's what's happening. He is having one X and one Y, right? Remember, the Y doesn't have any genes, except for maleness only. Is that clear? Mm-hmm. No other genes. So if you're talking about anything else, hemophilia or anything else, you're talking about the X automatically, right? So this have one allele, that's the uppercase H, okay, on the X chromosome, and he's having Y. Okay? The Y, completely normal. There are no issues here. Here is the uppercase, and did I mention it's hemophilia is recessive or dominant? Recessive. So he's normal, right? How about her? This is normal. How about this? Recessive. But she's okay. She doesn't have hemophilia. Both of them don't have hemophilia. They didn't know. Yes. And if recessive, in order to have the disease, there are only two chances. Either you have both recessive, like assume if this was recessive, okay? If this was lowercase, right? Lowercase with lowercase. This is how you get it, okay? So this is one. Or how about this? What if you have one lowercase and nothing? You will have the disease, which is the Y one. Did you understand or not? So that explains why males get it a lot more than females. How? Because if you are a female, in order to get the disease, you have to have both lowercase. So both of them have to be affected, which is extremely rare. In this case, it's very rare, right? But for males, enough to have only one. If you have only one, you get the disease. Why? You told us it's recessive. Yes, but the Y doesn't count. There is no other allele. So one is enough to show the disease. Okay? One is enough to show the disease only if this is a male, because the other one doesn't even count. Okay? So one is enough. And that explains why if this is an X-linked, when we say sex-linked, automatically we mean X-linked. Okay? So sex-linked or X-linked usually show in males, not in females. It's extremely rare, like 1%. Okay? Let me ask you this and see if you understand or not. Is this king, is normal or abnormal?
No.
Completely normal, right? What if we have just this H, lowercase?
He'd have
Hemophilia. Right away, hemophilia. For her, this is not the case, right? If she have both of them uppercase, she's okay. If she have one uppercase and lowercase, she's still okay. She doesn't have the hemophilia, but you call her a carrier for X-linked disease. Did you get the idea? And did you understand the explanation why it's usually have in males and females are the carriers? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you hear X-linked recessive, right away, you know that males are going to be affected a lot more than females, and females are usually the carriers. Can we have a male carrier?
Yeah. I know you can't. No, you can't.
No, you can't have a male carrier. You either have the disease or you don't. So who is the carrier? It's the mom, always. If you have X-linked recessive, it's the mom who gave it to you. just like this. There is no chance that the father is carrier. Okay, so that's it for this chapter.